This is breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.
You ready out there? Very good. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out. My name is Aaron Ford, and I am your Attorney General. Again, thank you so much for coming out today. Since taking office in 2019, I have been clear that one of my main goals is to seek justice on behalf of those who've been harmed in our nation's opioid epidemic. We've seen this epidemic devastate families and communities throughout our state. The proliferation of opioids has impacted thousands of Nevadans, and sadly, it's ended many lives as well. Part of seeking justice is holding accountable those responsible for this epidemic. That's why in June of 2019, a few short months after I became your Attorney General, I stood in this building and announced that my office had filed an expanded complaint against multiple defendants to hold them accountable for the harms, risks, and impacts that the opioid crisis had wrought upon Nevada and its residents. Now, a little over 4 years later, absent announcing a bankruptcy or two, I can announce that we have settled with the final defendant in our pending opioids lawsuit. I'm here today to announce that we have come to an agreement with Walgreens that will result in the company paying $285 million to our state. This money, which will be paid in installments over 15 years, will be divided between the state and the signatories to the One Nevada agreement that my office facilitated and announced in early 2021. After litigation costs and fees, $98,125,784.95 will be retained by the state and deposited into the Fund for Resilient Nevada, and approximately $116 million will be sent to the local government signatories of the One Nevada agreement. With this announcement, I'm extremely proud to say that, again, we have settled with essentially all of the defendants in our pending opioid litigation. We've held accountable these defendants, and we have secured to this date over $1.1 billion for the state of Nevada. I'm going to say that again for emphasis because, to be frank, I'm so proud of the work that my office and my staff and others have done to make this work. We have secured over $1.1 billion to the state of Nevada to help with remediating the harms of the opioid epidemic. My staff, one of whom is with me today, are some of the most talented legal professionals I've had the chance to work with, and they are working on behalf of Nevadans every single day to seek justice and bring in tools to help fight this epidemic. I need to highlight my consumer advocate, Ernest Figueroa, but also my consumer protection chief, Mark Kruger, who is here with me today, for their leadership. They have been a true force in litigation and a leader at every turn. Mark and I, in fact, have spent countless hours on this matter, including evening and weekend phone calls and settlement conferences. Mark, Ernest, and the rest of our team, I want to say to you in front of everybody that there is no way on earth this office would be here without your work. The work you've done on behalf of the state, I want to say thank you so much. Everyone should know that our office has put forth a yeoman's effort at doing this. Speaking of teams, though, I cannot discuss how we have gotten here without giving serious thanks to another part of the team, a vital part of this team. That's the Egglet Adams law firm. Robert Eglett and Robert Adams are here with us today, and I have to give credit where it's due. On that point, I'd be remiss, frankly, if I didn't highlight the skepticism and indeed unfair criticism that many displayed and leveled at our office for seeking outside counsel to help us in this matter. After I was sworn into my office my first term, I immediately convened a conversation around opioids and my intention to seek justice on behalf of the state. My BCP was quite adamant that we needed help to bring true justice to those responsible for this crisis. We had neither the manpower nor the financial resources necessary to conduct the extensive litigation that has taken, at this point, 4 years. That's if we wanted a result that was commensurate with the damages to Nevada. I didn't second guess their judgment, and I authorized them to initiate the statutory process to seek outside counsel. I recused myself from that process entirely. The committee responsible for selecting outside counsel performed its duties, and that committee ultimately selected Eglett Adams. And this state is so fortunate that it did. Robert and Robert, I get goosebumps thinking about the work that I know you've put in. This firm has been an extraordinary force for work to hold its corporations accountable. It has done exemplary work for Nevada and for Nevadans. It's dedicated a full 2/3 of its office personnel to this case. And it's expended thousands upon thousands of hours preparing this case for trial. The firm was instrumental in our settlement negotiations with all defendants. Their counsel was absolutely invaluable, and their advice, frankly, has been incomparable. I can say without hyperbole that we would not be sitting here today with over $1.1 billion, with a B, dollars in settlements were it not for Eglett Adams. For comparison purposes, I want you to ponder this. Today's settlement of $285 million is in comparison to what we would have gotten if we did not pursue this on our own. The global settlement that and the allocation we would have received was about $62 million. That means we've gotten 4.6 times as much because of the efforts of my office and Eglett Adams. The TEVA award that we announced a couple of weeks ago of $193 million, that's in comparison to $43 million we would have gotten without the help of Eglett Adams. That's 4.5 times as much that we received as a state. CBS, which I announced a few months ago, $200 million. That's in comparison to $56 million. So, excuse me, 57, okay, $57 million, 3.5 times as much. Even in the Walmart settlement, we received $10 million more than we would have received under the global settlement. And not to mention the very first settlement that I announced in this office, the McKinsey settlement, where we would have gotten $6.5 million had we gone with the global settlement, but instead we went it alone and recovered $45 million, nearly 7 times as much. So again, Mark, Ernest, y'all's team has been fabulous. Eglett Adams, you guys have been indispensable, and you have to give credit where it's due. These larger recoveries more accurately reflect the damage and the opioid crisis has wrought in our state of approximately 3 million people. And it's all because of, again, the combined efforts of my office and Eglett Adams' team. So, Eglett Adams, we thank you. I also want to acknowledge Walgreens for actually coming to the table and working with us to arrive at a settlement that can fund what is needed for Nevadans around the state. This funding will do real things for real people. Sadly, there is no shortage of uses for money earmarked to fight the opioid epidemic here in Nevada. Our state has been devastated by the opioid crisis. It's been, and it continues to be, one of the hardest hit by this crisis. That's why I'm so proud to say that my office has never stopped fighting once, not for one day, to work to mitigate the harm that this epidemic has caused. I firmly believe that Nevadans are stronger together, and at my direction, members of my office met with each of the counties and litigating cities in this state to work out an agreement that's going to give our state, again, the allocation of resources it needs. I'm proud of this work, and I'm proud today to stand here and say we have culminated this piece of litigation, absent a couple of bankruptcies, as I've indicated. These defendants have been held accountable, and I'm honored to stand and say $285 million additional dollars will be brought to the state to help effectuate a result. So thank you so much for being here. I will take a handful of questions, but thanks again for being here. Hi. Tell me. Hi, Caitlin.
Hi. In past lawsuits, specifically the Teva Pharmaceuticals one, you mentioned other terms of the lawsuit to address the opioid epidemic, like terms that Teva Pharmaceuticals had to go through. Were there any such terms that were reached with Walgreens, and how will that address the epidemic in Nevada?
Yes. The short answer is that the terms, I'm going to summarize it for you. The terms that we've talked about relative to Teva and CVS, comparable terms are set aside in this particular settlement agreement with Walgreens as well. I don't know if Mark wants to speak more specifically to some of those, but generally speaking, those same terms apply in this settlement as well. Mark, anything else?
No, just injunctive relief terms. In addition to that, there's some specific injunctive relief terms. Some of those injunctive relief terms are things where the pharmacies have to work together, and all of the settling defendants work together to try to set up red flags and catch any kind of diversion, et cetera.
So sorry. Any additional questions? Yes. Tell me your name. I'm sorry.
Eric with the Nevada Independent.
Hi, Eric.
So you said at a press conference earlier this year that just the amount of Nevadans who had died last year in terms of opioids or deaths in Nevada that were connected to a synthetic opioid. I'm wondering if you have stats on this year so far and how it's compared to last year.
We can get you those results. I don't have them standing here before you, and I'm not certain. I don't want to put my team on the spot. We don't have the information for you right now, but we'll get it to you, okay? Other questions from anyone? Yes, ma'am?
You had mentioned that $116 million of this settlement is going to be going to local governments' inventories. Do you have any prediction of when the local governments can start seeing that money?
Mark?
The first payment under this settlement comes in December of this year, and then it'll go every December of every year after.
Let me stay out your way. So sorry. Any other questions from anyone? Again, I want to say thank you so much for coming out to hear this important announcement. $285 million of a settlement we've entered into with Walgreens that culminates essentially the piece of litigation we currently have ongoing. And thank you so much. And again, thank you to Eglett Adams for all your diligent work. There's literally no way we'd be here without you. Period, point blank. And thank you, Mark Kruger and your team for your expertise and your excellence associated with this. I'm honored to be your co-worker. So thanks, everybody. Have a great one.
You've been watching breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.